All right, let's talk about how we work with, files like a CSV or a document with AI. Sometimes we'll get feedback in a CSV. There are tools like Build Better where we can consume things like intercom messages, support tickets. We even have like a CSV importer where we can process user feedback and stuff like that. But let's say we're kind of not wanting to just process it and understand, okay, well, let me show me the signal, show me the information, or write a report from it. Let's say we actually want to do more of an analysis over it. We actually want to maybe run some Python scripts on top of it, or we want to splice the data up, or we need to maybe even clean it up before we use a tool like Build Better. So I generally recommend ChatGPT. Anthropic does have a pretty awesome canvas as well, but I do think ChatGPT has a better Python environment, a better coding environment. So when it is processing through this data, it can be much richer. I found a data set that's just random feedback on Amazon products. And I just uploaded that here. So you can just, click the upload button, attach a file. You do have to remember that these tools are not built for processing, thousands of lines of stuff. It can be often better to ask it to write a script that you run on your local machine. That tends to be honestly the way that I do. So for example, what I would generally do is I would say, look at this and write a Python script that organizes the feedback by sentiment or tone. It can process. This is a pretty small document. I think maybe it's like 280 pieces of feedback or whatever it might be. But I can look at this and I say, okay, there's a rating, there's a date, there's a category, and it's going to write a Python script and it's going to write this out. And in theory, I could even have it run this Python script, and it might even be able to do that itself. You can see here that we'll get that output. And if it doesn't crash. So this would be a script. I could literally copy and paste this and run this in VS Code or something like that. And again, I can ask, how do I run this? Can you run that here? We'll see if it can run the code. Most of the time, it generally can run these types of scripts and these types of code. Sometimes it can't. But generally speaking, it's usually pretty good at this. So yeah. So it's actually done the work for me. It spit out the thing, and I can download these files. I'll go ahead and download it. And yeah, the first one you can't really see, but the first one is just positive feedback, and then we have neutral feedback, and it did it based off of the rating. So, this allows me to kind of run through this pretty effectively. Now, if I wanted it to go line by line and categorize by specific words or specific things, I could probably ask it, can you cluster? Can you write a script that does XYZ thing? And I can run that locally. Usually it's pretty good at this stuff. It's often when there's too much context. Like if you wanted to summarize an entire column, that would probably be a struggle for it. If you wanted to summarize the average reviewer rating, that would probably be fine. So if I wanted to say, what is the average rating over all feedback, we can see sometimes it'll answer here, or sometimes it'll just spit back out a link to download a file. And each one of these models, whether you're using Canvas or whatever it might be, you might want to save this to a specific project. So for example, I can, obviously save this to a specific folder or project. They just added folders and projects here. I'm trying to see if they're able to do this in this UI. The average is 3.5. So it just answers the question straight up. Now, if I did the same thing for Claude, let's delete that old stuff and let's add that here. I can proactively use this in a project. So I could add this to a specific project I'm working on, and that can make it a lot better. But I can say, go through this and let me know the average rating and the top reason for negative or positive feedback. And again, it's usually writing all of this analysis in Python. It's not actually doing like AI embeddings or AI on top of it or something like that. It's basically writing like a Python script and then running that Python script inside of its own environment and then spitting out the response that it has. So here we got, the average is 3.92. The reasons why people love it is the battery life. Again, this is some random product. The negative is small screen size. So maybe it was a phone or something like that. And then we have over here, did it give the same? Yeah, 3.92. So it seems like they both kind of came to the same answer. So they're both doing the same analysis. Doing this type of work has never been easier. And when it becomes more complicated, sometimes it's much easier and better to ask for the script itself, run this in VS Code or Cursor or something like that, and be able to kind of run these scripts and iterate on it over time. There are tools like ChatGPT on your Mac desktop computer. It can look at the code itself and be able to iterate on it and be able to make better decisions. I generally think, the less context, the simpler the scripts, the better you're going to get these responses. And you can embed documents and you can have it turn into a more embedded document. You can have it change its writing style. You can do really whatever you want. But this stuff is pretty simple and pretty basic. And a lot of people don't think to ask these types of questions. And again, if you want to do more of a qualitative analysis where you do, okay, I want you to go row by row and categorize this feedback, and then based off of the categorization, I want to do some other stuff, you might have to look like tools at like Build Better that can do more of this processing or ongoing processing. But if you're just looking at a CSV, I really do recommend either Anthropic or ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT sometimes has a better Python engine that it's running in the background, but you can see just how quickly we can get responses from CSVs, from files. And again, this context this is over, around 300 pieces of feedback. And similarly, if you're just doing like column filtering and row filtering, not necessarily summarization, you could go over thousands of pieces of feedback, given some type of limitation that maybe they have chosen themselves. There's a lot of tools that specialize on kind of CSV analysis or AI analysis, but generally speaking, particularly for compliance and other reasons, you want to make sure that the tool that you're using is not saving that data and not using that data for learning or training purposes. And most of these tools will often give you some basic level guarantee there, and you can kind of take your data off or delete your account or whatever it might be. But from a high level, you really can start processing a tremendous amount of stuff with these tools if you know how to prompt it. If write a Python script, I want you to analyze it. I want you to think about the columns, the rows versus like summarizing text or something like that. And then you can even get the data extracted and have it spit back out a CSV or some type of Excel sheet for you to then manually go through or label. One thing that we could do here is add a column about the topic of each row's feedback. And again, I can start manipulating this document and making edits and improvements so that I can review it or send it to a tool like Build Better, or send it to another tool, clean it up. I could say, I want you to remove specific information. Any customer that has less than a 2-star rating. Okay, now remove any reviews that have a 3 stars or below. So I can continue to kind of edit through this document and make it exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe I'm just looking for positive reviews, or maybe I'm just looking for negative reviews. And you can see here, now it's removed anything with 3 stars or below. So you can do a tremendous amount of manipulation. There's not a lot to it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy, but it's something that people don't often think about. And it's something that is a tremendous amount of value. Just make sure you're compliant and make sure you are asking the right questions. But good luck with this one and have fun. Talk to you in the next one. Bye.